Welcome to Sunday's video in my Friday, Saturday, Sunday marathon. In this video, give you a little synopsis. I'm going to cut the tubing that will bridge these two pieces together through the holes here. I'm going to cut a tube that'll fit through here, and then I'm going to cut a tube that will sleeve over that tube that'll fit in here, that it will butt up against the arms themselves, so that it's not just the weld, but it's a mechanical fitment that holds it all apart. I need to get my bandsaw and my metal moved over here, because I am not going to spend the rest of this build going from shop to shop to cut something. I have everything over in that shop because this shop used to have tipped walls, and I needed to put a new roof on it and insulate it. And so I cut the shop in half, stood the walls up straight, and instead of having a flat roof on it, I put that pitch right there. How do you do that? See how the ceiling has a gable end to it? It used to be flat right across the top of the garage door, and the walls were tipped in at the same 412 pitch as I put up there, which made it to where I could actually use my wall up against the walls and stuff like that. Cut the shop in half, and for a little over 2 years the wind just blew nonstop and I couldn't get the shop closed in. That's why the fabric for the insulation and stuff is hanging there like that, is because of wind damage and water damage. This over here was all rolled up like that because when I did finally get the membrane on it and the insulation, then it decided to blow and rain. So then the insulation got wet, and then, I don't know, I just never have got up there and tidied it up. There's something about being under the insulation that getting in your eyes and stuff that I don't like. When I do this east wall, I have a whole bunch of raw insulation to put on that wall and put the fabric on it and tin it. I'm gonna get a full face shield respirator to where my eyes and lungs don't get full of fiberglass, and when I do that, then I'll touch up all the ceiling and everything, make it look nice. But anyway, back out of that rabbit hole. I'm gonna go cut all these tubes, then I'll jump over here and weld all this up like I said I was gonna do in the last video. When I was welding these hoops and I was twisted around welding up underneath, my back got a kink in it, and I had to cut the video short because I had to go home and kick my feet up and let my back, it just tensed up on me and I couldn't hardly walk. Hopefully that doesn't happen again in this video, but we'll get all of this welded up. I have to build this front bracket. I have to decide how that goes because it has to be removable. Quick, I think I can build this front bracket solid off of this tube and bring it up, have a plate almost like this, but maybe just like to the bolt holes, maybe the second bolt hole. And then this bracket and this bracket will bolt together with these two bolts that go into the airbag. And then this whole thing comes off so I can get my intercooler out. I think that'll work. And I don't know why, but when I welded this in, see how my bag is sitting now? So I might have to pick all this up and get it to where we're sitting at ride height, and then adjust this bottom of my bag to where it's square, because I don't like it being slanted like that. Let's see what this does real quick. I'll take this bolt out of here real quick, like. See, that's the front of that bag mount needs to tip up in the front. Not a big deal because this is all temporary and everything's just spotted in there. We can break that loose and just tip that bag back a little bit. Guess I didn't really notice that much. Okay, I'm on the cutting tube. We'll be right back. I sped up the cut speed on my plasma table yesterday when I left, and it cut these holes. This one's not bad. This one, it cut like the hole is at an angle like that, and it's too small, and my 1 3/4 tube doesn't fit through it. See, it hangs up there, and that's because I sped it up to where the arc wasn't keeping up with how fast it was cutting. So I was over here beating on it, trying to get it to go in the hole. It went in the one fine. I've been kind of second guessing this whole design. I kind of woke up this morning contemplating if this is really gonna work or not, but I wanna try and pick it up. Where I welded all the way around this tube like that, it looks really nice, but then that gives you a fracture spot in that tube where you get it that hot. It hardens that metal to where it's more likely to crack there. But I left the bottom of these tubes here open, and I think that I will take the size of tube that'll fit in there, and I'm just gonna beat a sleeve up in there and double and maybe even triple the wall of that tube just to make it stronger. But I gotta go eat lunch. I'll see you when I get back. Okay, I got this one all welded together. I didn't get this. I cut the pipe. I thought I made that 1.5 inches. It's 1 1/4 inches. So the pipe that I had that goes through there is not the right side. I have this bag now sitting to where it's flat top and bottom. I'm going to go and build the gusset that will run down this tube and tie into the bottom of the bag here. The middle hole on the bottom of the bag where the Schrader valve is at, there's no threads in that hole. So it would almost be a waste of time to make the bracket go to that hole. And this one's gonna have the heavy welds, so I don't wanna bring my plate back all the way because then it gets in the way of my intercooler coming out. This bracket's gonna come up and it's just gonna catch this bolt, and then it is gonna go halfway because it'll still catch this galvanized fitting to where if it wants to shift or anything like that, I think that that'll be strength enough to stop it from twisting. But it'll just weld right up this pipe, come across, and it'll cover up just over half to where it catches that Schrader valve, but it's gonna come over here and then kind of angle out. But it will encase the bottom of that so that we get that second support there. So I gotta measure that all up. I just found out that something that was near and dear to me had a fatal fall and is no longer going to be with me here at the shop. And this thing has been part of my building community, man, for probably close to, it's been over 25 years, I bet. But I just found out that, I don't know, old Mr. DeWalt fell off of the motorcycle hoist, and I'm thinking that that's probably fatal. But I mean, this thing has never given me a hiccup ever. One of the, few things that I can literally say never had a problem with it. So I'll be having to buy another one of those. I'm gonna go and build this bracket. Enough screwing around. Catch you in a minute. Okay, I put some air into my little invention here and it won't work. It just blows the bag out one way or the other. Even if I tighten it or put spacers in to try to get it to where it moves the air over the other way. The last time I did it, I aired it up to where the bag was starting to come around the side here, and it never even lifted it up enough that I could feel that there wasn't a load on my jack stand down there. So for now, I'm going to tear all this off and put coilovers on it, and maybe I'll look into doing it a different way down the line. But for now, I'm going to have to scrap the cantilever system because it won't pick it up. These airbags just don't have it. So I'm going to have to either find a heavier duty airbag or just stick with the coilovers in the future. So I'll tear all this off and we'll go a different route. I'm over here now with my old sway away race runner. Oh, well, I guess I gotta go the route of being like everybody else, because the airbag would just all but blow up like a birthday balloon. And I never did get it to where it would even take the tension off of the jack stand back here. I don't know if the springs that I have on this sway away shock, after I looked at them, I don't know that I have a set that will carry this Cummins, because it's one heavy son of a buck. I did find both of my bump stops. The second one just fell through the pallet and was on the floor underneath it. When I lifted it up and dumped all the stuff off of the pallet, there she was. So we're in good shape as far as having the nitrogen filled bump stops, which is a good thing. Now I can probably just break this bracket off, and the bracket that bolts on here that will hold my intercooler and everything, it'll still bolt on here, but the bracket that comes over for the airbag, I'll just go ahead and delete it. So now I'm building hoops for my coilovers. You can see my intercooler tube hangs out here, and that intercooler tube runs right along the outside of the frame, and then I have the lower radiator hose on this side. I'm gonna have to put my intercooler and my radiator back in. I don't want to get this done and then realize that I got stuff in the way. Same on this side. You can remember the intercooler tube just misses this tube here and then goes up. I'm thinking that I'm going to have to build off of the side of the frame here. I'm going to have to build something out to where I can put my tube into it, and that way I can get out far enough that I clear everything on both sides of the frame. I have some 3/16 3x2 square tubing, kind of like what I used for the rock sliders, except for it's a little bit narrower. And I might just cut that at the right angle and stick a chunk of that out here to where I can land my tube into it. And I'll either stand it up so I got plenty of vertical load connection with my weld, or I'll lay it down so that I've got plenty of room as far as my pipe landing there. I will use those rods that I built for my airbag system for the distance of this shock collapsed, so that I don't have to take the springs off and let all the nitrogen out of it to collapse it, so I know where I'm at. I'm hoping that there's enough room between the frame and the spindle that I can get the coilover in here and the bump stop on my... I'm going to go back to the drawing board on this suspension. We're going to do a coilover shock just like everybody else. No being different this time, because I think the only way that I could never even tried. I got my TIG over here finally, so I can TIG that bottom radiator hose. That'll get us one step closer to done. And then the intercooler tubes, I'll try and TIG them, but they're a lot of the time when they do them, they're aluminized. You can get by MIGing them, but the TIG does not like the aluminization. You can see the dirty and then the gray. The gray is powder coat. And then you can see this hazy line. That's aluminized. And then this is just steel. So if I have the aluminized cleaned off of it, then it'll weld. But I didn't acetone the insides and get all of the grease and everything, all the old oil out of the inside. I mean, it's pretty clean, but it's not TIG clean, because TIG, you can't have any junk in the TIG. Even if it's on the backside of the metal, the heat will pull it up to the heat source where you get a contaminated weld with a TIG. So I can tell the sun went down. It's dropped probably 15 degrees in here in the last 15 minutes. So I'm going to try and push through as hard as I can to still try to get this thing, to where we can run it. That's why I'm going with the coilovers now and getting the bump stops put in, because if I have the bump stops in here to where it'll stop the top links from hitting the oil pan and causing me all kinds of problems there, I can take it out and run it around the dirt lot on the bump stops. That doesn't bother me as long as I know 100% sure that the axle's not going to come up any farther and cause harm. Because I don't want to lose the project now, because I think we're down to, I think Rudy said that we had 30 days till the games. That's a scary thought. I don't know. Is that right? Because I have to leave here on the 18th. Games start on the 19th. and today is Valentine's Day the 14th. So it's probably really close, because there's only 14 more days left of this month, and then 18 days. So we got a shade over 30 days, but I still have to build this. And then my trip to Denver is tied in with another thing we got to do before the games. So I better light a fire under my backside and get in gear and start actually getting something done. I have decided that even if this thing isn't done, it's going to be at the game. I'll talk to Matt and we'll put it on display or whatever. I'm not going to take like a total loss and just not show up because I didn't get it done. However far I get it, it'll be at the games. Whether it's, you know, an operating wrecker, or if it looks like this, it's coming to the games. So, all right, I'm building hoops, mounting some coilovers. If these don't work, then I got to drop a bunch of money and buy some great big kings so that we can suspend this thing, and that will hurt. I put some shave on this morning and kind of went back to my baby face. Anyhow, I tore all of the stuff off from my airbag, and I was going to give in and put on these coilovers. And then last night when I went home, ate some supper, and I jumped on the old YouTubes, and Kelderman, they build all of the airbag suspensions and stuff for like the big F450s, 350s, the dualies and everything. And then I watched a couple of episodes of some guys building rat rods that use a similar system as what I built, not quite as heavy duty, and it just looks like they pivot on like a 1/2 inch or 9/16 bolt instead of a big hub. But they're running their airbag right next to the pivot point, and then they're throwing out, you know, like 2 foot long arms that go out to their front axle, and they're picking that up and stuff. So there's absolutely no reason why I shouldn't be able to make this work. I think the blame for the failure in the whole deal is these cheap Chinese airbags that I bought off of eBay. Because I was watching theirs, and they have them to where they're like this, to where they're completely collapsed on the one end and wide on the other, and they just air up and everything works, and they don't turn into some kind of a party favor or whatever. So I'm not going to give up on the airbags just yet. I think we're going to bring them back. I'll have to remake some of the stuff and weld everything back on that I had on here. You can see I broke this bracket completely off just to get that out of my way when I was trying to put the other stuff in here. I'm going to finish the truss across the top of my front axle. Like I said, I found both of the bump stops now. These have a 6-inch stroke, which is a lot. When I had my crawler, I used to use it to chase coyotes, and I had a winch on the front, of course, 8,000 pound Warren, and I had a hoop on the front axle, and I had a switch on my dash that would run the front winch. And my crawler, when I would take all the gears out of it, would, according to my GPS, would run about 130 miles an hour with 37s on it. And I would pull that winch to where I just started to collapse these bump stops. That would stiffen up my suspension to where it handled like a race car. And so I'm kind of hoping that it does the same thing on this rig. I did put this bump stop on the floor jack and stick it up under the front end here and jack it up to measure what from this collar where it would rest against here to the end of the bump stop when it's fully collapsed. I did that to just get that measurement so I know where to put the can on the frame to where I bottom out when I need to. And this charge in this shock tried to lift the frame before it bottomed out more so than the airbag did. And if you think about it, your semis, your great big buses, all of your bigger stuff runs on airbags. So there's no reason why an airbag shouldn't lift this rig other than it's a POS from China that doesn't work. So we're not going to scrap the airbag idea because I don't want to scrap the idea of having an adjustable ride height. and everything on this rig. And after watching Kilderman's deal, it's probably not going to happen before the games, but I'm probably going to 4-length the rear of this and put big sleeved airbags in the back so that I have adjustable ride height in the back too, because I've got things that are going to happen to this rig when I get home from the games that I haven't made you guys aware of yet, but it'll all make sense once I kind of hit stage 2 on this build. So that's coming. So I'm going to jump on here, get a few things done, get the bump stops on. That's what we're going to use for the suspension at the moment. I'm going to TIG weld that lower radiator hose. I'm going to put the new radiator in it, fill it with antifreeze, slap the dash in it, and try to give this thing a rip. Maybe not in this video, but it's coming. I keep saying that, and I've been told that I'm going to be like the kid that cried wolf, but I mean, that's all I want. I want to see this thing move, probably just like you guys do. I will get on the phone tomorrow. I'm going to buy some good, either Michelin or Goodyear airbags, probably Goodyear. We'll come back. I gotta find the ones that'll fit inside of the parameters and the measurements and everything that I was building this, because that's what I know will fit. So I have to find the right diameter and the right lift capabilities, and then we'll bring all that concept back and we'll finish that up. But for now, I'm gonna finish that truss over the front axle, put the bump stops on it, and we're just gonna press forward, get the steering welded onto it, just keep moving upward and onward, lean into it a little bit and see what happens. I'll check in with you when I have an update for you. Here we go. I cut out the pieces for the truss across the front of my front axle here, and the top piece I did like this, and I put that dome on it because with my airbag cantilever system, my mounts are out here and I have plenty of room to put the bump stop right here beside it. But if we have to resort to a coilover, by the time I put my bump stop on here, there really isn't enough real estate to put my coilover out here and have it clear everything. So I did this so that my bump stop will actually sit back behind the center of the axle and hit out here for my bump stop. I don't want to have to accommodate there being room for the bump stop and the coilover. I'm just covering my bases, making sure everything is, you know, workable if things change.